This book is called Football Friends by Gene, Dan, and Dave Marzollo. Let's play touch football. I'll be captain, said Freddie. Me too, said Mark. I picked Carlos. Why did you go first? Asked Freddie. Because I did, said Mark. Freddie was mad. He wanted Carlos because Carlos had the best throwing arm. I picked Tommy, said Freddie. Sarah, said Mark. No fair, said Freddie. He wanted Sarah on his team. Is too, said Mark. Is not, said Freddie. I quit. You're a baby, said Mark. Freddie jumped on Mark and threw him to the ground. Mark fought back. Freddie got dirt in his mouth and a bump on his head. Suddenly a whistle blew. An aide came over. Freddie and Mark, to the office, she said. Freddie and Mark were mad as tigers. Fighting again? Asked Mrs. Smith. She was the principal. Freddie knocked me over, said Mark. Mark called me a baby, said Freddie. Mrs. Smith looked at them. What's the difference between a big boy and a baby? She asked. Freddie and Mark didn't know what to say. This is a baby, said Mrs. Smith. She waved her arms and made baby noises. Gaga, goo goo. Mark and Freddie began to laugh. Mrs. Smith laughed too. I'm glad we got that straight. Now tell me, what were you two really fighting about? We were going to play football, said Freddie. Mark and I were captains, but it wasn't fair. He had the better team, so I quit. That's when he called me a baby. And that's when you lost your temper, said Mrs. Smith. She looked worried. Is football too rough for you to play? No, said both boys. We use a foam ball, and we just play touch. No one tackles. No one gets hurt. Mrs. Smith smiled. I'm glad that you two agree on something. And usually you're friends, right? Right, said Freddie and Mark. Then why do you always fight when you play this game? She asked. Freddie pointed to Mark. He always gets the better team. Do not. Do too. He always loses his temper, said Mark. That's because the teams are uneven, said Freddie. I have an idea, said Mrs. Smith. I'm going to give you both football homework. I want you to work on it together. Your job is to make 2 even teams. That night, Freddie and Mark talked on the phone. Their homework was hard, but they did it. The next day, they gave their lists to Mrs. Smith. Cowboys: Freddie, Sarah, Tommy, Zach, and Dante. Raiders: Mark, Carlos, Mateo, Kim, and Casey. Recess came. Kids met on the playground to play touch football. Mrs. Smith came too. She showed the kids the chart. Are these teams fair? She asked. Yes, said the kids. Fine, said Mrs. Smith. Then you may play touch football. But you must use these teams. And if there is any more fighting, there will be no more football. Do you understand? Everyone said yes. Let's go Cowboys! Let's go Raiders! The teams got set. Mark and Freddie were opposite each other. The game began. Freddie hiked the ball to Tommy. Tommy flipped it to Sarah. The ball bounced off her hands. It flew into the air. Freddie caught it before it hit the ground. He ran all the way to the pavement and scored. The Cowboys were ahead 7-0. Each touchdown was worth 7 points. There were no extra points in their playground game. The Raiders now had the ball. Mark hiked the ball to Carlos. Carlos ran to the left. He saw Mark on the other side of the field. Carlos threw a pass to Mark. Mark caught it and ran toward the end zone. Freddie ran as fast as he could after him. He wished he could run faster. He didn't want Mark to score. Freddie finally caught up with Mark. Freddie reached out to touch him. There, he touched him. But Mark kept running. He crossed the goal line. Touchdown, Mark shouted. No way, cried Freddie. I touched you. You did not, yelled Mark. I didn't feel a thing. Freddie ran at Mark and started to push him. Cut it out, Freddie, said Sarah. Mrs. Smith is watching. Don't you remember what she said? If there's fighting, no more football. Freddie let up, but he was still mad. The score was now 7-7, and recess was almost over. Freddie wanted to win. The Cowboys and Raiders lined up. Freddie and Mark were face to face. You're going to lose, said Mark, because you're a baby. I can say whatever I want now because you can't fight me. Freddie gave Mark a shove. Time out, said Tommy. Huddle up, team. The Cowboys formed a circle. Freddie, keep your cool, hissed Sarah. He called me a baby, said Freddie. What am I supposed to do? Say thank you? Sarah was disgusted. He's just trying to get you mad so you won't play well. Don't pay any attention to Mark, said Tommy. Use your anger to run faster, okay? The teams lined up. Baby, said Mark. Gaga, goo goo. This really made Freddie mad. But instead of hitting Mark, he thought about Sarah's words. He's just trying to get you mad so you won't play well. Her words made sense. Then he remembered what Tommy had said. Use your anger to run faster. Gaga, goo goo, said Mark again. Freddie pretended he didn't hear, but inside his rage burned. Freddie pretended it was like rocket fuel. It was like rocket fuel. He hiked the ball back to Tommy and ran toward the goal. He turned his head to look back. Tommy aimed and fired. The ball was coming right to Freddie. Freddie reached up for it. Freddie caught the ball and brought it down to his chest. Then he ran as fast as he could. He heard footsteps behind him, but Freddie was too fast for anyone to catch. He blasted into the end zone. Gaga, goo goo, Freddie shouted as he crossed the line. Gaga, goo goo, sang Tara and Tommy. The Cowboys waved their arms and toddled like babies. It was the first football game they've won in a long time. It was also the first game without a big fight. Later, Mrs. Smith stopped Freddie in the hall. I want to talk to you, she said. I wasn't fighting, said Freddie. Mrs. Smith smiled. I don't only talk to kids when they've done something wrong. Sometimes I talk to them when they've done something right. I heard Mark tease you, and I saw what you did. You almost lost your cool, but then you controlled your temper. Freddie blushed. My team helped me, he said. That's the way to handle teasers, she said. If you ignore them, they'll give up teasing you. That's one way to stay out of fights. Freddie smiled. I don't think I'll mind if Mark teases me again, he said. Thanks to him, I scored a touchdown.